So what we want to do is, before we pick it back up at the sun, let's go back and confirm some of the stuff Isaiah was saying. Let's keep it marked here in Isaiah. All these people want is an answer. But if we can't give them an answer, at times, if we can't give them an answer, we can't give you an answer right now. We look into it. But ain't no use me getting mad and calling a man out of his name. You know, even when this was first brought to me some time ago, all right, I didn't decide to do no teaching or nothing until just recently, because it's really growing. It's really now, you got these Old Testament or just the prophets and law believers really pushing at it. And a lot of people can't answer certain of these questions. But when it was brought, I wanted to hear it out, because it's just a search for truth. Am I looking for the truth, or am I looking to defend my own doctrine or the doctrine of my organization? If I decide to defend my own doctrine or the doctrine of my organization, then what? That'll put me right to sleep. You understand? It's the same thing where people looking for the truth. If you asking for the truth, I'm going to give you the truth. So therefore, you got to be open to truth. If you're going to ask for the truth, then you need to open your ears for the truth. You know? And so the things which we bring forth, what we teach, like I said again, whether it's doctrine, whether it's on the Holy Ghost, whether it's on marriage, whether it's on politics, if you asking for the truth, then don't be afraid of it then. But that's strange to me. You want to know the truth. You praying to God for the truth. And then when we present something that you can't show as a lie, but it just bothers you because you're not comfortable with it, you get afraid of it. It's like when we say Jesus Christ is a communist. People, that was taboo to people. But we proved it, didn't we? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's been proven. Why? Because you and your teachings, you've been afraid of communism. You've been afraid of that word. Well, you can't mix politics in the Bible. Says who? Says who? Say it again. It's all through the Bible. Jesus was executed as a political prisoner. That's how they executed the political offenders in Rome. Okay? By impalement. But everybody want the king. You know what I'm saying? Everybody waiting for the king of Israel. Oh, the Lord, my king, my father, or king. And don't know nothing. How you gonna run? I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, just be open to the truth. That's all I can. That's as far as I can go. Now, 2 Kings chapter 16. Let's see what the truth is in Isaiah 7. Let's see what we can find here. I'm sorry, 2 Kings 16 I want, right? Yeah. That's what I said. 16 and 1. So we got Pekah and Rezin coming against Ahaz. And the prophet Isaiah came down to Ahaz and told him, look, these two smoking firebrands, Rezin and Pekah, Syria and Israel, or Ephraim, which was one and the same, don't even worry about it. Ask a sign. Ahaz, no, I ain't asking no sign. All right then. If you don't believe, you won't be established. A virgin shall conceive. So what we want to do is find out, was there a child born? All right. And then was Pekah and Rezin dethroned? That's what we want to find out. When you get it, 2 Kings 16 and verse 1, when you get it, go ahead and read, my brother.
In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign.
Isn't that what we're reading about? Go ahead, brother.
20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign.
Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to take the throne. Go ahead.
And reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord his God, like David his father. That's why,
see, David was established. And he didn't do right, Ahaz. And that's why Isaiah let him know, listen, if you don't believe, then you won't be established. All right? So he did which was evil in the sight of the Almighty. Go ahead, brother.
But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, He made his sons to pass through the fire according to the abomination of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places.
He sacrificed
and on the hills and on every green tree.
Unto Baal and burnt incense under every green tree, right? Go ahead, brother. Now notice this.
Then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to war. And they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him.
Because Isaiah told him two smoking firebrands not going to overtake the city. Number one. Now Ahaz, you can believe this or not, but they're not going to take Jerusalem. Now they invaded all around Judah. They took many captives in Judah, but they never was able to take the capital because their intent was what? To take Jerusalem. Why? Why I say take Jerusalem? Because they wanted to replace the throne with another man. Now, in order for that to succeed, you got to get into Jerusalem, get around the temple and the priest. You got to get to the capital and dethrone the king in there.
Right.
Lord said that's not going to happen. Now, they went to make war with him, right? Let's skip down. You stopped at verse 5?
Yes.
They went to make war and besiege Ahaz, but they couldn't overcome him. Verse 7.
So Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying...
He sent messengers to who?
Tiglath-Pileser.
You're going to go to Assyria. Now, the Creator done told you already. See, that's why Isaiah was saying if you don't believe, you're not going to be established. Isaiah done told you already that these two smoking firebrands not going to overcome the city. But Ahaz didn't believe, did he?
No.
He wanted help from who? The Assyrians. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Another enemy. See? So, read it from the top again, verse 7.
So Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and out the hand of the king of Israel, which rises up against me.
So we know that he wasn't going to be established because he didn't believe the words of the prophet, right?
Right.
Let's continue.
And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of the Lord.
Then look what he did. He went to the temple.
And the treasures of the king's house, and sent it for a present to the king of Assyria.
You see what he did? And where you think he got the gold from? Read verse 17.
Verse 17.
Yeah, verse 17. Notice this.
And King Ahaz cut off the borders of the bases and removed the lavers off them.
Off the altar he talking.
Yep. And took down the sea from off the brazen oxen that was under it.
If you read the description where Solomon was described, remember that sea that he was creating, he took all that down. Go ahead.
And put it upon a pavement of stones. And the covert of the Sabbath that had built in the house, and the king's entry without, turned he from the house of the Lord to the king of Assyria.
Instead of you listen to the prophet, you gonna mess around and seek refuge with the king of Assyria. Isn't that something?
And he becomes a thorn in your side.
And he became a thorn. Let's go back now to verse 9. So he got all of this gold from the temple, sent it to the king of Assyria. But there was a sign that was to be presented before Ahaz.
Brazen sea and everything.
Took it all down. Sent it to Assyria. Verse 9.
And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him.
See, first, if you read in the records of the Chronicles, the king of Assyria did not take heed to Ahaz, gave him a hard time. Even came up against him and buffeted him a little bit. But then when he sent these gifts and humbled himself, this record shows us that he finally said, okay. And once he took the side of Ahaz, what did he do? Go ahead.
And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Kir, and slew Rezin.
Oh, so we got one of them gone, like Isaiah said. Rezin, knocked off, right? Rezin was going to be knocked off. Let's skip back to chapter 15 and pick up the other record. Chapter 15 of 2 Kings, verse 29. He said, before this child now will know to refuse the good, both this land shall be forsaken of both her kings. Verse 29, when you get it, go ahead.
In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon and Abel-Beth-Maachah, and Janoth, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, and all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria.
Now, the Assyrians now, they were some bad boys. All right? They was the ones who was going to make Ephraim not a people. Okay? Because that's what Isaiah said, didn't he?
Yeah.
Now, he came, Pileser came and knocked off, or Pileser came and knocked off Pekah, right? In the days of Pekah he came, right? Verse 30.
And Hosea the son of Elah made a conspiracy against Pekah, son of Remelah, and smote him, and slew him, and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham, the son of Uzziah. And the rest of the acts of Pekah and all that he did, behold, are they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel.
So now we got Rezin and Pekah knocked off. But yet there was still a sign to Ahaz. Before we go back to this sign, let's go to 2 Kings 17 now. Verse 1. Rezah and Pekah, or Rezin and Pekah, got knocked off, just like the prophet Isaiah said was going to happen. 17 and 1.
In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him.
Notice this.
Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents.
Go ahead, brother.
And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
What's going on? Pekah was by Hoshea, right? Which was over Israel. Telegath-Padneser, something like that. I don't have him right in front of me. He knocked off Pekah. Or should I say Hosea knocked off Pekah. And let me read it so I can say this, brother. Tiglath-Pileser. He took out, what's the other name? The Assyrian Rezin. So now Hoshea took off Pekah, and now the Assyrians is coming and taking out Hoshea. Why am I going to this part? Because the 2 smoking firebrands was to be removed. And within a span of 65 years, Israel, which was the tribes of the 10, was to not be a people. Do y'all remember reading that?
Right.
So now that's what we're reading about. The two kings, Rezin and Pekah, have been knocked off. Now we have the Assyrians coming up against Hoshea to do what? Remove the 10 tribes. Let's go ahead and continue reading this.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th years of Hoshea, king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halath and in Habor by the river Gozan in the cities of the Medes.
And the 10 tribes were removed, and we we know they ain't been back since. So we got so far what Isaiah said was going to happen. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 7. And we learned Ahaz will not be established because he didn't believe the vision. Instead, he sought refuge by the Assyrians. Now the Assyrians came and removed Pekah, Rezin, and the 10 tribes. And we know later on, during the days of Hezekiah, which was still within that span of 65 years, what happened in the days of Hezekiah? Didn't the Assyrians come up against him and besiege the city?
Yep. Took him into captivity.
Then they began to attack the house of Judah. No, Hezekiah succeeded.
Oh.
They fully didn't, Assyrians didn't do it.
That's right.
At all. They eventually started to get absorbed into the Babylonians, and the Babylonian Assyrian Empire came and destroyed Israel by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 7 now.
Okay.
Let's pick it up at verse 17. He said, a virgin shall conceive. Before you start reading, I do want to address this. Because people argue over that term virgin. You do got 2 different words, virgin, in the scriptures. But this word here used was Alma, if I'm not mistaken. If you can get to it, let's say 59:59 in your Hebrew. 59:59 in your Hebrew. It should tell us one of the names for virgin is Alma. All right.